All right, so for my next video, I was going to teach you something about drawing. I get questions a lot from students about how do I draw things and make them look like they're in 3D. And it's a really simple trick that can get very, very complicated. It's called drawing in perspective. So there's a couple simple tricks to kind of get the idea of it that I'm sure you've seen some of these before. It's how to draw a box or a cube in perspective. So if you can just draw a square like this first, and then draw another square that's about the same size, but they overlap a little tiny bit. Once you have the two squares drawn, you simply connect the corners together like this, and right away you have this idea of this cube that looks like it's real. It has a front, sides, you can see through it. It looks pretty realistic. So it's something that you can try a bunch of times and have some success with it right away. It's not too difficult. Practice it a bunch of times, you'll get the hang of it. So here I have a bunch of these cubes. Just do a whole bunch of them, get a little practice, kind of get the hang of it. And it really does look believable just with those two overlapping squares. But like I was saying before, it can get a lot more complicated than this. So what this is really showing you here is this idea. It's called 1-point perspective. So I'm going to turn this piece of paper over and show you the idea of what's called 1-point perspective. So on your paper, I'm going to put a little dot right here towards the top of it. And then over to the side down here, I'm going to draw a square. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these three corners, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to kind of lightly connect them to this point at the top. And it kind of looks like, you can see already, like this square is sort of like coming towards us. I'm going to make another one over here, a square. And again, just kind of lightly take these three corners and extend them all the way towards this here, this little point that we drew here. It's called the vanishing point. You can practice with a couple more squares if you would like. There's a smaller square here. And to make it look like a cube, this can be a little bit difficult. You can give it a shot though. So here's this edge of this cube here is, I tried to make it straight up and down, perfectly vertical. So I'm gonna come up here and make another vertical line. And then on this side of the box, I'm gonna make a vertical line. Over here on this side, another vertical line. And now the top of the box here, see these little points where they intersected? Those, this middle line, I'm gonna come from here and make a horizontal line. So now I have these boxes that look to be three-dimensional now. If you want to crank up the idea of it being three-dimensional, you can add a little bit of shading to these boxes. So I'm going to pretend that there's a light source here. Let's pretend there's lights up here coming down and casting light on top of these boxes. I'm going to leave the very top of these boxes as light as I can. I'm not going to put anything on there. So this side over here, this little box will have a little bit of a shadow to it. I'm just going to do this to it. A couple little slashes like this. That's now shaded in. Over here, this side of the box is going to be a little bit darker too. So I think I showed you cross-hatching on one of the marker videos earlier. I'm just going to make this side of the box a little bit darker. And then the front face, I'm going to make a little bit darker too. And the other two sides. So I'm going to go up and down, left and right, diagonal, opposite diagonal, this one too. So there you go. Now I have these 3 boxes. They appear to be pretty realistic, as if they're drawn in perspective, 1-point perspective. Like I said, this can get more complicated. I'm going to make some additions to this video. I'd like you to keep trying. I think everybody can handle something like this. Give it a shot. If it turns out a little bit off, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Like anything, it takes practice. But the next video, I'm going to show you a couple more tricks on what to do with this 1-point perspective. And if there's a 1-point perspective, there's also a 2-point perspective.